back, everyone. Do you drink Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts coffee?
Both.
Well, both, okay. Your local politician knows and is using that information to get your vote.
Joining us right now from Sacramento is Chad Vander Veen, staff writer for Government Technology Magazine. Good morning to you, Chad.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. We'll talk about how this all works, but first let's start with the kind of interesting cocktail party talk stuff. Which party goes to Starbucks and which party goes to Dunkin' Donuts?
Well, if only it was as simple as that. But what I've heard, the
word on the street,
Democrats tend to love the Starbucks and Republicans like their Dunkin' Donuts.
Why is that?
Well, like I said, it's not quite that easy. But if you take that sort of thing and add in maybe what magazine they subscribe to, what kind of car they drive, maybe you can find out what church they attend or if they attend church, then you can sort of start to take all that information, those little pieces of information, and run it through some modern, high-tech number crunching software, and you start to get a picture of what these people might actually be feeling in terms of their political beliefs.
Gotcha.
It's called micro-targeting, right? And I understand that it was extremely successful in the last presidential election in Ohio, which we all know was a pivotal state and an extremely close state.
Right, and that was its first real test. The Republicans really used that heavily to try and find, in Democratic communities, to try and find pockets of Republican voters to get them out in the last couple of hours. And a lot of people credit micro-targeting with really pushing the Republicans over the edge in Ohio.
That's right. And now, Chad, we know that people who market stuff like products and things that you can buy, they've done this a lot. But where do the political parties get the information? Do they actually go house to house? Do they do a survey? Do they hire somebody? How's it work?
No, well, there's companies throughout the U.S. that gather this raw data. Like, say, for example, when you go on the Internet,
right,
you come across one of those sites, win something, and you happen to click on it and fill out a survey. Well, there's companies that gather that information, census data, like I said, magazine subscriptions, that sort of thing.
Right.
They gather that raw data and make it available for purchase. And it's all legal. I mean, it's easy to get if you have the money to get it.
All right. Oh, sorry, Chad. I didn't mean to interrupt you in the middle of your thought.
I was just going to say, and then you can run it through the modern software and get a good idea of what people lean towards politically.
Okay, I got to ask you now, because we talked about Target and Walmart. Steve said he shops at both. I'd shop at both if I could find them in New York City. Which one do the Democrats go to, and which one do the Republicans go to?
Well, I think it doesn't work in reverse. I think you can only look at what they do consumer-wise, and then hopefully get an idea of their politics. But I don't think you can take their politics and find out where they're going to shop.
All right, but I do understand that according to the experts, Republicans also like bourbon and Democrats prefer gin. So who knew? And this election could give us something to drink about. Chad Vander Veen, we thank you very much for joining us. He's with Government Technology Magazine out in Sacramento, California. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
And coming up on Fox and Friends, we'll hear from the Defense Secretary. He's holding a